Welcome to the Why Property Podcast, the only non-property property podcast in the world. We don't just talk about houses or investments here, we dig deeper. It's about uncovering the big why behind property decisions, the stories, the dreams, and the life people are really chasing. Because property isn't the goal, it's simply the tool that help us create the life we want. Into today's episode, I want to quickly share something really exciting and time sensitive. Right now, there's a great off the plan opportunity in Palm Beach on the Gold Coast, Jefferson Lane, Millionaires Row. These are absolutely exquisite apartments from a rock solid developer starting from around 1.4 mil. Here's what I'm telling you this today. On September the 8th, the prices are going up by 5%. In real terms, that means that if you buy and secure an apartment before that date, you're basically making that 5% on the way in. One of my clients, for example, is purchasing two apartments worth about 3 million combined. Once the prices change, that's $150,000 in instant equity. And it's not just this client. We already have two other clients who purchased in this building and more looking closely at purchasing right now. That tells you smart investors are moving quickly to get in before the increase. So if you're listening to this before September 8th and you've been thinking about a great investment opportunity, this one you should seriously consider. The Gold Coast property market continues to grow strongly, and with the light rail tram extension reaching Palm Beach and also the airport, the whole area's value is only expected to rise even further. So if this sounds interesting, call me today. My number is 0415 and I'll help you to do your due diligence and make sure it's the right fit for you. All right. So with that said, let's go into today's podcast. Today's guest is Jeannie Savage, a successful entrepreneur, award-winning businesswoman, and a passionate property investor. Now, she's also Pana, mi amor in Spanish. And in this conversation, she'll be wearing the client hat, sharing her own journey in property. Jeannie wears many hats in her life, but today it's all about her story as an investor. So without further ado, welcome, Jeannie.
Thank you, Enrique, for having me on your podcast today.
Wonderful. Well, my first question is usually the same for all my guests. We know property creates income and wealth, but why is it for you that important? Why property? What's your deep why and what's on your bucket list?
Okay, cool question, right? So why property for me? So the deep why, because yes, property number one is the vehicle that I think personally is the best way to make a real amount of wealth, right? So in terms of why the wealth, why the money, like why would I even want to go and accumulate any wealth? Enrique, the answer to that question has definitely changed over time. Like I am a 53-year-old woman now. So right now, in terms of why property, I hate this word, but I do think about my retirement, and that started happening to me, to be honest. It was in 2023. It was 2 years ago, and it was almost about this time. It was in the winter of 2023. I've never told Enrique this. So Enrique's learning as much as everyone else. So it was in the winter of 2023. So I was just after my 51st birthday, and my mother had passed away. So I think sometimes life events and the whole midlife, right? 50 is literally midlife. Hopefully, I'm going to live to triple figures. I know. I mean, rocking it out at 100. So anyway, I
Cool.
got to my midlife, and suddenly it dawned on me that I had to make sure that I could live the rest of my life in a way that was nice. Like, not, I thought, okay, I don't want to grind out work for the rest of my life. Like, I'd like to get to a point where I could be enjoying a life that I felt this is cool. Like, I think you said once, you said years in your life, but life in your years, right? Not like I don't want to get to 100 and have had this life where all I had to do was think about how am I going to pay the bills. I had to keep working, and then the government dictated where I was going to live. And I never got to travel to the places I wanted. I didn't get to eat the food I wanted to eat, etc. So the answer for me to why property right now as a 53-year-old woman who had never thought about the word retirement, even at 49, if I'm being honest, I'm like, boring, don't talk to me about that. Um, Now I actually, and you're my partner, right? So I think I am thinking about how can I create money that allows me to live the way I want to live? That's all, and also makes me feel a little bit comfortable about my son. So he's 15 now. And actually, like Enrique's son, he's a special guy. That means he's neurodiverse. You may know this as special needs. But I do think about my son. I think about our kids and the
Mm.
extended kids, like they're special friends. And I think I'd really like to, and actually that leads into when I was talking to my ex-husband, his dad, a while ago, and I mentioned a property I had. And do you know what his dad said? His dad said, Jeannie, that makes me so happy because I know Rory will be okay. So when we talk about why property, like, isn't that beautiful? And when he said that, I was like, yeah, Rory will be okay because I'm creating generational wealth, which is a funny phrase. And I think the best gift we can give our kids is actually not first generational wealth. It is giving them what they need to go out and make it on their own. 100%. That's number one. But number two, the fallback, it'd be really nice if I make sure he's got somewhere to live if anything goes wrong. So my why
Of course.
property is taking care of me because I believe we should put ourselves first. So what is the life that I want to live? And it's not a private jet. Yeah, that'd be pretty cool too, but I don't need to aim for that. It's a life
Would be
where
nice
I
though.
get, it'd be nice. Let's dreams, right? Hopes and dreams. It's a life where I get to be comfortable and healthy and happy and get to travel to some cool places that I like the look of, like the big lap around Australia. That's on my bucket list. I hope to do that in the coming months, start working from the road. So it's really just living a life where I look back and go, yeah, I did the things that I wanted to do and I took care of the people that I wanted to take care of because I also have family very close to me that some of them are unwell and some of them might need some help in the future. So it's taking care of myself and the people I love and enjoying my life. That's my why property.
That's fantastic. Oh, love it, love it. That's very close to me as well. So legacy and well, generational wealth is it's basically one of the most important things as well. And just living the life on your own terms. That's wonderful, sensational. Now, what a second question I'd like to ask you as well, which I think is very important and very relevant to what we're doing at the moment, is can you share with us what are you actually buying right now and why? What's the reason? What's driving your current strategy? And how does it fit into the bigger plan?
Okay, so what am I buying now and why? Yep, what's my current strategy and so on. So some of what I'm buying and why is because of you. So it was really cool when we turned our friendship into a relationship because Enrique and I knew each other for years. When I paired up with this person with this passion for property, and the things that I was kind of feeling all alone with, and I had the voices outside that was, well-meaning family and friends would always tell you, you can't do that, you can't, take that calculated risk, or you're crazy, who do you think you are? And then add the voice of shame, who do you think you are? You can't buy
Yes.
property. Who do you... Right. So you came along, and it was like that. You can do this, sweetheart. you and good on you. Keep going. So that really helped, and I can dive into a bit more of that. But what am I buying and why? So over the last 2 years, I've managed to buy 3 properties, and I'll be on to my fourth in the next few days. And the reason, what am I buying and why? So the 2 years ago, I sold the family home that I had. One, because it was time to move on, and two, it was a lot of maintenance, and three, because I owned it outright. So I had a Robina home a couple of years ago, and interestingly, I got offered 1.3 million for that at the time. And do you know what? I decided, no, I'm not going to listen to the voice of shame. I'm not going to listen to the doubters. People around me said, Jeannie, your first offer is your best offer, and you can't. You want 1.44 for that. You can't. That's not going to happen. You can't do that. And I went, f them, right? F them. Even family. Oh, Jeannie, you don't know what you're doing. I went, no. My real estate agent said we've had 2 offers of 1.3. And I went, that's great. Yeah. My number is 1.44. And if I don't get
That's
that
it.
number, the one person who backed me was my accountant, who's been with me longer than I've been born, our family accountant. I rang him. I said, this is what I'm doing. Is this okay? And he said, Jeannie, you're on track. I said, if I can't get 1.44, I'll hold it for the land value. So I've always been good at property, but everybody made me doubt myself. And so up until 2 years ago, I wasn't doing much with property, because even though I thought I knew what I was doing, which Enrique has confirmed, I kept doubting myself. So anyway, lo and behold, I got exactly what I wanted for that property. And I moved
Wow.
into my new home, my existing home. Everybody said, don't do this. I spent a fortune renovating it, and I have capitalized a fortune out of it. So I have, in terms of what am I buying and why? So I've bought my existing home. Now, I actually paid a little bit over market value at the time for that. About 3 years ago, I bought it, and then I moved into it 2 years ago. So why did I pay a little bit more? Because the location is so unique that you can't pick this property up again. Whereas I'll buy another home and I'm like, I want that at a steal, right? So I'm buying Gold Coast property because I believe the Gold Coast market is incredible. I believe it's set to go from good to great. I've been watching the Gold Coast market for years now. The property I sold in Robina that I thought I got this amazing 1.44, 2 years later is now worth 200,000 more than that. So 300,000 more than what I was told I could get. So that in real terms is more than 20% more. So I'm watching the Gold Coast property market increase. The real figures seem to be about 7.5. I'm seeing properties increase by 10 and more percent year on year. So I love the Gold Coast. So that's where I've been buying. That said, I have been looking at Melbourne only because of what Enrique told me about Melbourne. And I won't go into all of that because I challenged the bejesus out of him. But the only reason I'm looking at Melbourne is, number one, there's some buyer's incentives. Number two, the market has bottomed out, right? So it's only got one place to go. So number three, Enrique's told me all about the population statistic growth, and you can get near the city for like 750,000. Forget about that, somewhere like the Gold Coast, right? So I'm looking where there's opportunities, and I am really keen on a market like that. But right now, I bought my existing home. Then I bought another one, existing home in Robina on the Gold Coast. So I went and bought exactly where I had sold, but leveraged. So that means I bought a property where I've got a deposit and the bank lent me the rest, because then it's a tax deductible income producing asset. Whereas if I have all my money in a property, then it means that I can't deduct the interest and the tax department starts taking money off it. Okay, I will rent my home out that I have here and that will happen to me, but ultimately the strategy for me is not to do that. It's to buy leverage properties. Even if I have all the money in the bank, I will not use it. I will leverage that property. I will leverage to the hilt, to make sure my investment's leveraged. So the next property I bought, so the third, which is my second investment, residential, because I have a commercial investment property on the Sunshine Coast as well, is just across the road from my house. Why did I buy that? Number one, because opportunity knocked. It was across the road. They were having trouble selling it. I got a sweet deal. And number two, because it is Gold Coast location, location, location. And then the next property I bought is in Palm Beach on the Gold Coast. And there's a really interesting reason I bought that one. So number one, I wanted to buy something off the plan, and I wanted to buy something off the plan that wasn't going to be built for a long time.
Right.
And my preference was to do that on the Gold Coast, because I'm personally hedging my bets that the Gold Coast market's going to go up. So I'm such an accountant and I'm such an analytical thinker like this. So I thought, okay,
That's
next thing, I know, right? Next thing, I wanted to buy something preferably on the new tram line. So the tram, I've read a lot online from other economists, etc. The tram line is being extended now all the way. It currently finishes in Broadbeach. It's now going all the way down to the Gold Coast airport, and the crews are working 24 hours a day. And so the tram line is set to, predictions are it will increase property. So I was looking at Burleigh Heads, really like Burleigh Heads, but then I've always loved Palm Beach, and some developments came up at Palm Beach. So I was pretty sure I was going to buy one there. But then Enrique showed me this development. It was two years now until it'll be built, which usually means it could be, I'm happy if it's 3 years. So the next thing is the developer profile. When I saw the developer profile, I was really impressed. That's a part of my due diligence. And actually my sister, she's looking at buying one too. And then also another one of Enrique's clients who I really respect is buying in that property. So it was just more kind of, okay, this is a really smart, savvy investor as well. So him and I bought next to each other. We're neighbors.
That's
But
brilliant.
also the next thing is, so location, land location layout, it's only 9 stories. So Enrique taught me, if you've got this massive building that's taking up the entire block and there's 500 units in there, well, you've got to take that into consideration. Well, this one is only 9 stories. So I was like, okay, so it's a boutique building where you're only going to have, a certain amount of units in there. And then in terms of location, it's on Jefferson Lane. If you live on the Gold Coast, you know that is Millionaires Row. So it was all those things combined that made me decide that's the one. And then when I bought, I felt, even ChatGPT helped me and said, wow, that seems like a really good price for what it is. And I was like, I thought so too, Chat. Okay, great. I got a beautiful ground floor with this massive courtyard. But I was kind of feeling like, oh, I really like that. There's a north facing one on about level 7. I really like that. And it was like, well, I've got to choose one or the other. But then I also knew that I'd probably get equity very quickly in that property. And that leads to what I'm buying and why as well. So,
Right.
so
Very good.
basically, yes, I thought I really wanted another one, and now they're going up on September 8th. So I'm buying a second one now as well. And the reason I'm doing that is because in the next 2 years, I'm hedging my bets, so calculated risk, that the property will go up and I'll make, say up to about 20% in 2 years, which will be about 600,000. I'll bank into equity. And so that's what I'm buying, and why is Gold Coast property. I really love WA because of government stuff over there. And I do like Victoria because the market's bottomed out. And I also love Brisbane, the whole of Brisbane, between the Gold Coast to the Sunshine Coast. I'm always saying to Enrique, can we look at more of those? Can we look at more of those as well? And I'm just
Very
going
good.
to borrow. And the other reason I liked off the plan is because my borrowing capacity is changing regularly and getting better as I work hard and save money. And it just gives me more time to increase my borrowing capacity as well.
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you for that explanation. Not only it's inspiring, and I'm sure that a lot of people will agree with you. But I think that what makes a difference at this stage, Ginny, is the fact that you are taking action. So you're doing all your studies, you're doing all your due diligence as well, but you're actually taking action, which is actually making things happen. I mean, it's okay that most people obviously have procrastination issues or whatever, but it seems that the minute that you see a good opportunity, the minute that you analyze and you feel very comfortable, you're saying, okay, let's actually find out how can we go ahead. And I think that's actually what makes the whole difference between what you are doing with the rest of the people. So well done. Well done. That's awesome. Now, knowing what you know about property investment now, obviously having an incredible entrepreneurial experience and being raised by a very famous entrepreneur in Australia, like it is your dad. Um, if you have your time over again, what would you differently? What would you do differently?
Yeah, because I would do things very, very differently. I would have listened to myself. If I had have just done that one thing and not listened to everyone else, my goodness, I
Yeah.
would be well and truly retired by now. So what would I do differently? And I do want to mention something on action. The reason that I am able to take quick action. So I always have like my list of questions and I'm like, boom, boom, I need to know all of this. And Enrique knows that I'm funny like that. I'll be like, right, I know the answers. And then I'm like, okay, go, I want to do it, right? And the reason for that is because I can always sell it. In
Right.
terms of
Right.
my accountant brain going, because I'm actually, believe it or not, I'm reasonably risk averse. I have a background in risk
Are
registering
you?
as well. I know, and people always go, "You seem like you just, I'm actually quite risk averse, but I take action because property for me is it is yeah, it is quite low risk in that you've got this bricks and mortar thing, and if you do some due diligence and the numbers stack up and you think, I think that's pretty good. Like had I held that Rabina property and not sold it from 2 years ago, well, I would sell it for 1.6 today, not 1.44. Right. So you've always got to make the best decision that you can at the time. That said, I wouldn't have invested in the one I'm in now, which has ended up making me more. So, you take a calculated risk, but the great thing with property is, if something happens, you can always sell it. So just for everyone wondering why, how do you take action? So what would I do differently? Well, so thinking back to when I bought my first property, I was about 26 and I saved the deposit and so I had to have the deposit and the mortgage insurance, right? And way back then I bought so I was 26 half my life ago. I bought a little apartment, beautiful little apartment in Surfers Paradise, 2 bedroom, 2 bathroom, and I lived there for a year. And back then, 150,000 on the wages we got paid. It was a fair bit. So I kind of got sick of the pressure of it and I thought I might sell it and buy something else. And I made 50 grand on my first property. And I put that into my second property, which was only $95,000, my principal place of residence. So my mortgage was really low and I could afford to go out to dinner. It was wonderful. And then I decided at some point that I would move to Sydney. And somebody who will remain nameless told me that I could not keep that property, that I needed to sell it. and have the money in the bank to move to Sydney. And I said, that doesn't make sense to me. You know, it's just a young 27-year-old girl. That doesn't, or 28, that doesn't make sense to me because I'm a numbers girl. And if I rent that property out, the rent will pay the mortgage and some. And no, 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 you don't know what you're talking about. So I sold that property that today is now worth $1 million, 26 years later. Right? So
Hindsight.
yeah, what I would have done differently. So way back then I wasn't an entrepreneur, I just had a job. And just like they talk about in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, if I had my time over again, my entrepreneurial venture would not be anything that I ended up doing. It'd just be buying property. I, I would just work in a
Wow.
job, save. I would have started the journey I started. I did the right thing there. The wrong turn I took was not trusting myself, not, trusting how simple and wonderful this property investment strategy is, because it is simple. I don't like complicated. I don't buy shares. Yeah. For me, bricks and mortar, give me a house. Right?
You
I'm
can
such an
touch it.
Aussie. Yeah, yeah. Just give me a house I can rent out and sell if I need to in a stable market. Houses are stable. Yes, crypto goes up and down, but let me make money from other people's money as well, which is the bank, right? So, what I would have done differently is I would have actually gone to a good mortgage broker. I would have said, help me borrow as much money as I can. That means as much money as the broker deems you can manage, which is generally buy investment properties, rent them to someone, they pay the rent. Maybe there's a tiny shortfall. You tip that little bit in until the rent naturally goes up with time, and then it's net neutral or positively geared. Repeat, 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 repeat. And that's it. That's what I would never have opened a business. I'll be honest. I would never have started a business. My time over again, I would have worked in a job and bought property and bought property and bought property and bought property. That's it. Boom, done.
That's an incredible revelation and incredible insight as well. But I guess that the fact that you have a business now is because you have a dharma behind it as well. But what a great thing about sharing that, so you would have done the things that you would have done is just borrowing more, comfortably, of course, and continue purchasing more property. That's brilliant. Excellent.
Simple. Yeah.
Now, look, there's there's one other question that the great Glenn Carlson always asks in his podcast as well is the rocking chair test. So, okay, so the rocking chair. Imagine you're at the end of your life sitting in a rocking chair with family and friends gather around. So, what's the one piece of advice that you leave them with?
So, the one piece of advice that I would leave everyone with, drumroll please, is your health is your wealth.
Hmm. Your health is your wealth. That's
Yeah.
awesome. Can you
Without your health,
elaborate a
you've
bit
got
more with that?
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I've had quite the journey. I suffered pain and fatigue all my life and had to hide it and do my best with it up until 2.5 years ago when I found Dr. Catherine Shanahan and her amazing book Deep Nutrition. Her another book she's written called Dark Calories is easier to read, and I got myself well. So. Your physical, your mental, your spiritual health is your wealth. You need to put yourself first, put your health first. It shocks me that the majority of the planet are running around putting their health second and radical accountability, that they blame anything and everything else. We are responsible for our own health. And I just think the one piece of advice, if I only had one piece of advice to give my family and friends when sitting in a rocking chair at the end of my life, it would simply be your health is your wealth, and that should be your number one priority.
That's wonderful. Well, Jeannie, it's been such a privilege and such a pleasure to share your wonderful journey as a property investor as well. And we can just feel that passion and that not only just that that certainty and that security of you doing the right thing as well. But it's just wonderful sharing all of these stories with you as well. So thank you so very much.
Thank you for having me on the podcast.
No worries, my love. Well, that's a wrap up for today's episode. Just a reminder that if you're interested in the Palm Beach development I mentioned earlier, or if you simply want to chew the fat on property investment in general, just give me a call, 0415 261 779, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you very much.